Hello, and welcome back to the Simply SharePoint podcast. I'm your host, Liza Tinker, Microsoft MVP for SharePoint, and someone who's been working with this platform for a very long time. Long enough to have seen it in just about every state imaginable. And recently, apparently long enough to watch my own website have a bit of a moment. More on that in a second. If you're new here, welcome. I'm really glad you found the show. This podcast is all about SharePoint and Microsoft 365 in plain English. No jargon, no corporate fluff, and no pretending everything works perfectly. Just real, practical insights from someone who spent years building, fixing, and figuring this platform out in real workplaces. And if you've been here before, welcome back. I've missed you, and I owe you a bit of an explanation. So, where have I been? Here's what happened. A few weeks ago, I published some content that clearly resonated, which is fantastic. Genuinely, thank you. And then my website proceeded to completely fall apart under the weight of all that attention, which is a very specific kind of humiliation. You work hard, people show up, and then your site goes, nope. It's a bit like finally getting a table at a great restaurant, sitting down and the kitchen catching fire. Everyone arrived, the venue just wasn't ready. I've sorted it out now. The site is solid. And the irony is that while I was sitting there unable to publish anything, SharePoint kept releasing things, big things I was desperate to talk about. So the backlog of excitement just kept growing. Today, we are finally letting it out. Here is what I want you to take away from this episode, and I'm going to say it right up front because I think it's important. SharePoint has just had its most significant transformation in years. And I do not say that lightly. I have been saying this is a big update about SharePoint for 20 years. So my bar for significant is reasonably high. But what's happened over the last few months is quite different. Microsoft hasn't just added features, they've changed what the platform fundamentally does and what it expects of the people using it. There are two things I want to focus on today. The SharePoint AI agent, which I've been testing, and SharePoint skills, which were just announced and I haven't fully tested yet, but I'm excited about it in a way I haven't been about a SharePoint feature in a while. So let's go. So firstly, the SharePoint AI agent. Microsoft has been rolling out something called AI in SharePoint, a natural language building experience where you describe what you want to create and SharePoint builds it. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. Liza, I've heard this before. AI this, AI that. Show me something real. So let's be fair. But let me tell you what I actually did this week. I needed to build a document library, full setup, metadata, columns, the right data types, views organized the way the team actually works. Normally, that's a session clicking through setting screens, adding columns one by one, setting up views, going back and fixing things that you forgot, and generally spending a couple of hours on something that should be simple. Instead, I described what I wanted in plain English. The agent asked a few clarifying questions. It wanted to make sure it understood my intent before it did anything, which I actually loved. And then it built it. The whole thing. Columns, data types, views, done. I sat there waiting for the catch. And there wasn't one. I have also been building lists this way, describing the columns, the data types, the metadata, the views, and watching SharePoint construct them programmatically. What used to take hours is taking minutes. The back and forth through settings is just gone. And here's the part I find most interesting about how this agent works. It doesn't just generate something and dump it on you. It iterates, it proposes a plan, it tells you what it's going to do before it does. You can push back, refine it, change direction. It's much more like working with someone than it is like pressing a button. Now, and I want to be really clear about this because I think it's important to be honest about what's actually working right now. I was not able to create a new SharePoint site through natural language in my testing. I had to create the site first and then work with the agent inside it. That was my experience. Microsoft does have site creation via natural language on the roadmap, and it was scheduled to start rolling out at the end of March through the preview. So, depending on your tenant settings and how far the rollout has reached, you may have a different experience. If you do, please come and tell me. Leave a comment on the blog post or message me on LinkedIn. I genuinely want to know how this is working. But inside an existing site, the agent is powerful. Lists, libraries, pages, all built through conversation. And there's one more thing I want to highlight because I think it's underrated. You can convert existing Excel tables or Word tables directly into SharePoint lists. The agent maps the schema, infers the column types, dates, currencies, people, and builds the list. Think about how many spreadsheets are floating around your organization right now that are functioning as makeshift databases, project trackers, asset registers, request logs. The agent can take those and turn them into proper, governed, Copilot ready SharePoint lists without any manual column setup. That is a big deal for anyone who's been trying to get their organization to stop tracking things in Excel and hasn't quite managed it yet. Now, here's the thing people are getting wrong about all of this. They're treating the AI agent as a shortcut for people who don't know SharePoint. And yes, absolutely, it lowers the barrier. Someone who has never set up a list before can now do it through conversation, and that's great. But I actually think the bigger opportunity is for people who do know SharePoint, because when you understand what good structure looks like, and you can now build it in minutes instead of hours, you become dramatically more productive. You can build better solutions faster and spend your time on things that actually require human judgment. The agent doesn't replace SharePoint expertise, it accelerates it. But what it does replace is the tedious, repetitive, click-heavy configuration work that nobody enjoyed doing anyway. And I don't think anyone is going to miss that. Now, let's take a look at SharePoint skills. This was announced just days ago at the Microsoft 365 Community Conference. So this is hot off the press, and it's rolling out to public preview tenants right now. I haven't had time to fully test this yet, but I've read everything about it. I understand what it's designed to do, and I'm genuinely excited. So let me explain it and then tell you why I think it could be significant. Skills let you teach AI in SharePoint how your specific organization or team works. There are 3 things you can teach it: what to know, how to act, and what to produce. What to know means you can tell SharePoint to remember your norms and preferences. Things like naming conventions, content standards, how your team categorizes things. SharePoint stores that context at the site level and then applies it automatically whenever anyone on the team uses the AI capabilities. So it's not just helpful for you, it's shared knowledge for the whole site. How to act. This means you can define repeatable, multi-step processes as skills. Think of them like saved playbooks for AI tasks. A finance team could create a skill for generating quarterly reports. An HR team could create a skill for reviewing documents against a template. Anyone with edit permissions on the site can create a skill, and anyone on the site can use it. No code, no developer, just natural language. What to produce means you can ask the AI to generate files, Word documents, Excel spreadsheets, PowerPoint presentations, reports, dashboards, aligned to how your organization wants them, not generic, yours. Now, here's my open question, and I'm going to put it out there because I think it's worth the SharePoint community talking about. Could SharePoint skills eventually replace the need for custom-built agents in SharePoint sites for simpler use cases? I genuinely don't know yet, but skills are site-scoped, reusable, built in natural language, governed by existing permissions, and designed to codify repeated team processes. That's a lot of overlap with what simple custom agents are being used for right now. I'm going to be testing this hard over the coming weeks, and I'll report back. But it's a question worth asking before your organization makes big investments in custom agent development. I also want to give a quick mention to the SharePoint Admin Agent, because if you're an admin or you manage SharePoint for your organization, this one's for you. The Admin Agent brings AI-driven governance into the SharePoint Admin Center. You can ask it in plain English about permissions across your tenant, who has access to what, where the oversharing risks are, which sites are inactive or ownerless, what your storage trends look like. What used to require PowerShell scripts, data exports, and a lot of manual analysis can now be answered with a question. That's significant for anyone who's ever tried to get a clear picture of their SharePoint environment and found it surprisingly hard to do. It requires a Microsoft 365 Copilot license, and it's available now in the Admin Center. Now, here's what I think all of this actually means. Microsoft is making it unmistakably clear that your SharePoint structure, your metadata, your library organization, your column setup is not just about tidiness. It is the data layer that Copilot and every AI tool runs on. Copilot can only be as good as the content it's reasoning over. If your files are untagged and your libraries are a dumping ground, Copilot isn't going to rescue you. It's going to give you confidently wrong answers at scale, which is arguably worse than not having Copilot at all. The agent makes it faster to build good structure. The skills feature makes it possible to bake your organization's processes into the platform, but you still have to care about the foundation. Clean structure isn't just tidiness. In the AI era, it's the difference between Copilot that works and Copilot that guesses. I've been saying this for a while now, and I'm going to keep saying it because it keeps becoming more true. So, if you're sitting there wondering where to start, here's what I'd suggest. First, opt into the AI in SharePoint public preview if you haven't already. You don't have to turn it on for your whole tenant. Start with one site, get a feel for what it can do. Second, try the agent for something real. Build a list, build a library, describe what you need and see what happens. I think you'll be genuinely surprised. Third, check your metadata story. The less metadata your libraries have, the more you're limiting what Copilot can do. Even basic columns make a real difference. And fourth, watch the skills roll out. This is the one I'll be coming back to. The full article for this episode is up on simplysharepoint.com right now. It goes into everything we talked about today, the agent, skills, and the admin agent, and my honest take on what all of it means. The link is in the show notes. If you've been testing the SharePoint AI agent and you have a different experience to mine, especially around site creation, I generally want to hear from you. Leave a comment on the article, find me on LinkedIn, or send me a message. This is a fast-moving preview, and real-world experiences from real tenants are worth sharing. Thank you so much for being here. If this episode was useful, please share it with someone who needs it. And if you've been a listener for a while, thank you for sticking around during my accidental hiatus. The website is fixed, I'm back, and SharePoint, as it turns out, did not slow down while I was gone. Until next time, I'm Liza Tinker, this is Simply SharePoint, and I'll talk to you soon.